The Wayans brothers have been in movies and TV shows for decades. They are part of a famous family in the entertainment business. In Living Color, a sketch comedy show on Fox, was created and starred by Keenen Ivory Wayans. His siblings, Damon, Kim, Shawn, and Marlon, were successful film comedy duos who were in White Chicks and Little Man. But Hollywood doesn't seem to want to cast the Wayans brothers anymore because of their career changes, failed projects, strong opinions, and new priorities. There are a lot of famous movies and TV shows that the Wayans brothers have worked on, like in Living Color and the Wayans brothers. They have also worked on movies like Little Man, the Scary Movie franchise, and White Chicks. There are also many other movies and TV shows where they have played important roles, from big-budget action movies to popular sitcoms to small independent films. Howell and Alvar Wayans, who used to be the head of the Wayans family and the matriarch, have nothing to do with Hollywood. The boss of a grocery store was Howell, and the social worker was Alvar. The elder Howell died in 2023, and the younger Alvar died in 2020. Author and director Keenen Ivory Wayans is best known for making some of the most famous Wayans family movies and TV shows. Many of the Wayans siblings and other actors who would go on to become famous were on the mostly black sketch comedy show In Living Color, which he wrote and starred in. He directed movies like White Chicks, Little Man, I'm Going to Get You Sucker, and A Low Down Dirty Shame, which were the first two scary movies. He is best known for his roles as Brad Williams in Happy Endings and as the coach in New Girl, the popular sitcom by Elizabeth Meriwether. His guest roles on popular TV shows like Brooklyn 99 as Detective Stevie Shellhill, Curb Your Enthusiasm as a police officer, and Bob's Burgers as Arnold have all been praised by critics. In contrast to the other Wayans family members, Alvar Wayans has not only kept to herself, but it also looked like she had left Hollywood completely. IMDb only lists Wayans' work as a writer and writer's assistant for her brother Damon's show My Wife and Kids. It also lists a thank you credit from her brother Marlon for The Curse of Bridge Hollow. Alvar has two kids who work in Hollywood. Their names are Damon Dante and Shawn Wayne. Shawn Wayne is the son of Elvira Damon Dante Wayans. The Wayans family has a long history of acting, with a number of well-known roles in different projects. Shawn Wayne is one of these actors. He and Marlon Wayans wrote the scripts for the first two scary movies together. He also had a part in the sitcom, The Wayans Brothers, which also had his brother Marlon Wayans and other actors and comedians. Shawn and Marlon also wrote the scripts for the first two scary movies, and Shawn played Ray Wilkins in both of them. Marlon Wayans is best known for co-creating, co-writing, and co-starring in many projects made by the Wayans family. He played Marlon Williams in The Wayans Bros, Shorty in the first two Scary Movie films, Marcus Copeland in Meek's White Chicks, and Clement Babyface in Little Man. Darren Aronofsky's Rum for a Dream, Love the Coen Brothers The Lady Killers, Sofia Coppola's On the Rocks as Dean, and Ben Affleck's Air as George are some of the other movies he has worked on with well-known directors. The Wayans family's success is due to the extraordinary script and plot that were written by the brothers. But people who work in Hollywood have been trying hard to stop them from reaching their full potential. Scary Movies 1 and 2 were big hits because they changed the horror comedy genre by making fun of both jokes and scary movies. Forbes put Scary Movie 1 on its list of the 25 highest-grossing horror movies of all time. It has made between $159 million and $262.50 million in ticket sales in the United States. There wasn't much work from the Wayans brothers on the franchise after the first two movies. When it was time for the third movie, the Weinstein Company quickly bought the franchise after other studios turned it down. Marlon said that they never stopped working on the franchise and that they kept making new content. In conclusion, the Wayans family has been acting, writing, and directing for a long time and has done very well. But people in Hollywood have been working hard to stop the brothers from becoming as famous as they could be. People are still inspired and entertained by the Wayans family's work, but the industry needs to recognize and honor the unique talents of its creators. The Weinstein Company sued and tried to stop the popular black comedy series The Wayans Brothers many times. In 2018, the business filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In 2021, it was given permission to begin a liquidation plan. The Wayans Brothers was made by Marlon and Shawn for the WB, but it was canceled before it had a real ending. But because Netflix bought shows like Sister Sister and Moa, there is a current trend for Black Nine's nostalgia. As a result, Marlon is thinking about making a Wayans Brothers movie with a proper ending and a streaming debut. The brothers were introduced to the show in the early 1990s after Ken and Damon, Kim, Shawn, and Marlon were added to the cast of In Living Color on Fox. Some people didn't like how funny the show was when it came to black characters, but Marlon thinks that every artist should have their own voice. He knows that people in the future will laugh at his comedic parts and that critics like his dramatic ones better. Marlon, who went to the prestigious LaGuardia Performing Arts School in New York, wants to show how versatile he is. He has played a wide range of roles, from drug addicts to abusive husbands to loving husbands to white women. Marlon knows that people in the future will laugh at his comedic contributions and that they should be proud of their history and get better over time. He also knows that critics like his dramatic turns and that he never wants to have to prove himself again. People still argue and talk about how hard it is for Black actors to work in the entertainment business. When The Birth of a Nation came out in 1915, it was the first movie in 100 years to show Black people in a deeply racist and harmful way. Black groups spoke out against and protested the movie, and they even got together to ask censor boards to ban it. In the last 100 years, movements like the LA Rebellion and the Harlem Renaissance have tried to show Black people as real, complex people with stories that should be told on film. In the 1920s, the Harlem Renaissance was in full swing, and civil rights groups like the NAACP, the National Urban League, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People (NAACP) became more well-known. Directors like Oscar Michael pushed Black cinema forward by making movies with Black teachers, ministers, and lawyers. In 1929, MGM made Hallelujah, which had an all-Black cast and was the first Hollywood movie with sound. However, it was directed by King Vidor, a white Texan. When the movie came out, white critics loved it, but Black audiences had mixed feelings about it. The NAACP put pressure on MGM not to make the movie because they thought it would be like The Birth of a Nation. But David O. Anick, an executive at MGM and the studio, started making the movie while telling the NAACP that it would be better than the book. Hattie McDaniel, played by Hattie McDaniel, was a Black stereotype that was common in movies at the time. Some Black people had mixed feelings about how she played Mamie, but other movie fans and critics, both Black and white, said parts of her performance were powerful or masterful. McDaniel won an Oscar in 1940 for Best Supporting Actress. She was the first Black person to win an Oscar before the Second World War. Black people were let down by Hollywood again, which made more movies for and about white women and pushed Black people for smaller roles. Some people thought that Hollywood might be focusing on stories about white women on purpose to avoid controversy over how Black people were being portrayed. Through the passing genre, Hollywood looked at racism and anti-Semitism for a short time from 1946 to 1950. Hollywood put out Negro tolerance movies with light-skinned Black people as unwanted guests who could get away with racism while still enjoying white privilege. But there were no images on the screens that showed this huge change. People thought that Sidney Potter's movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was very liberal at the time it came out. When it first came out in 1970, the Black exploitation genre in movies showed strong images of Black people who were clearly angry, often violent, and sometimes even trying to kill. Whitey? Early movie parodies of maids and butlers who were there to serve were turned on their heads after World War II. Black characters were often shown as bad guys who wanted to get back at white people, mostly white people. When young independent filmmakers at the UCLA Film School saw Black exploitation movies, they decided to make their own. This was the start of the LA Rebellion film movement. In the 1980s, a unique era of Black cinema came to an end. The NAACP kept putting pressure on Hollywood to stop exploiting Black people. The LA Rebellion movement didn't have a strong infrastructure to back it up, but some filmmakers involved in the movement and Black exploitation kept working. Hollywood was changing its business model and moving into the blockbuster era, which ate up independent films. The 1989 movie Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee was a major work in the field of racial injustice. When the 2015 Academy Award nominations were made public, there was a public identity crisis in Hollywood because there were only 2 people of color nominated in major categories. April Reign, an activist, made the #OscarsSoWhite to draw attention to the lack of diversity in Hollywood and the awards. The wait-ins may not be the end of racial inequality, which is still a pain point for many Hollywood actors.